So thank you. We're up to 22. So again, let's absolutely get started. Again, my name is Nicole Burris. I'm excited to welcome you here for our Easter Vanoc, or Velikonoc is the Czech word for Easter baking. Obviously, Easter is next weekend. So we're going to share with you. We've got Milena in the yellow in the kitchen. She just waved. Is going to share how to make the mazanets and the Veronica, which is the Easter lamb cake. And then Denisa, if you would wave in the white embroidered shirt, is going to show us a couple renditions of what to do with eggs post the, I think it's a deviled egg and egg salad. So looking forward to getting into the Czech Easter spirit with all of you. Thanks for listening to my housekeeping. We're going to keep everyone on mute just to help enhance the quality of the presentation. Please use the chat feature if you have questions, and then we'll absolutely have a Q&A at the end. If you'd like to hold your questions till the end, happy to answer any of those questions. There's a couple, I'm assuming some of you have joined us in the past. Maybe there's some first timers. There's a view button, for example, on the top of my screen. I like the speaker view, so that when Milena and or Dennis are talking, you get the full effect of the presentation versus just seeing a little thumbnail like I currently see. So ladies, let's take it away and get started.
All right. Well.
Okay, so thank you, Nicole, for the introductions. So I will start. We're going to be baking the Veronica and mazanets. We're going to both at the same time. And as I mentioned in the email I sent you, because it takes a lot of time to rise, cook the cool, we're going to have different stages. So in some instances, I'm going to go backwards. That's mainly with the mazanets. But let's start with the Veronica, and we are always want to prepare the form. So Veronica is all about the form. The inside, the cake, you can use any babovka cake, or you can use the recipe which I sent you for your babovka. It's kind of lemony, and it's nice and springy and fresh tasting. So that's why we make the lemon Veronica. But there is millions of different recipes. This one is more like a pound cake, but you have some which are using cottage cheese. There are some which are risen dough, like a yeast dough. So you have million different recipes out there, but I hope you will like mine. So you use butter, and I let the butter sit there for over an hour, so it's all nice and soft, so it's easy to work with. And you really want to work the grease into every nook and cranny, because if you spend some time on this right now, then it's going to make so much easier to get your Veronica out of the form. So we're gonna finish this, and the history of the Veronica while I'm doing this, to have the sacrificial lamb has been a tradition for many, many, many years, not just in Christianity, but in pagans religions, and goes really back. But not everyone could afford to eat meat or slaughter a lamb around Easter time or springtime, because Easter is not just Christian holiday, but kind of welcoming the spring as well. So people who did not have enough money for the meat or didn't have access to a lamb, they started baking their cake in the shape of Veronica. So now we have the butter in, and I'm gonna wipe my hands. And then we're gonna take some flour, and we wanna cover all that grease with the flour. And again, that's gonna help to get the Veronica out of the form when it's all baked. And I do it over over another baking sheet just to make the cleanup easier. Or you can do it over your sink or newspaper, or if you don't mind cleaning your kitchen, you can just do it over your kitchen counter. So here we go. So that's the bottom. And as I said, you know, Veronica is all about the forms. You have different kinds of forms too. You can have a metal form, or you can have one from clay like this one. I actually got mine from my dad for my 18th birthday. And I have been baking in it pretty much since. If you don't have two piece, some of the forms are only the bottom piece. Don't worry about it. You just use whatever you have. As I said, there are different kinds and they all work. Okay, so we have the form ready. I'm gonna set it aside. And here is the recipe. We have the 8 tablespoons of butter in the bowl, and you can see that it's really soft because that makes the work much easier. And then I'm gonna add 1 cup of granulated sugar. And I like to have everything ready to go because then you don't forget anything, because it happened to me in the past that I was baking and I either put salt instead of sugar or forgot something. And this way you have everything ready. So I put the butter in there, I put the sugar in there, and I put the pinch of salt in there. And, oops. And you're gonna mix it all together. Until it is nice and can you hear? Can you hear me talking? If you don't hear me talking, I'm sorry, I'm gonna turn it off. So here we go. Now we have the butter combined with the sugar, and you can actually do this longer to totally whip it all together, but you know, this will work too. And you have 2 different ways. You can either put a whole egg in, like I'm doing now. We're gonna put totally of 4 eggs in there, one at a time. And mix it up. Or you can separate the egg whites from the egg yolk and whisk in 1 egg yolk. 1 egg yolk.
Fill it off. When you're
Yeah.
using the mixer, we can't hear you. So if you could just repeat what you said,
Okay, yes,
the last minute, thank you.
Okay, what I said. So you can either use a whole egg, like I'm doing right now, or you can separate the egg white from the egg yolk and whisk the egg yolk into the butter, and 1 at a time, the same as I'm doing, and then whip an egg whites into a nice and firm foam, and you're gonna fold it in when you're folding in the flour. So I'm gonna turn the machine back on, and maybe we can go to Denisa to start on her eggs, and I'm just gonna work in all 4 eggs, so it's gonna be about 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, very good. Let's go to Denisa. And
Hi there. So I will show you what you can do with eggs after Easter when you have boiled them and you've colored them, and then you have so many eggs that you're not really sure how to use them up. I will show you how to make deviled eggs, and then I will show you how to make egg salad. Both of them are really simple recipes, and I found that the recipes that I use is similar to the ones that I found on the internet. Typically, the deviled eggs are very popular when you come to brunch or an event. They are one of the first appetizers or little nibbles to go. So what I've done so far is that I've boiled eggs, and you boil eggs, you put them in a cool ice water to cool off really quickly so that they, number 1, stop boiling, and number 2, you can peel them easier. And I will show you how to do deviled eggs first. And the reason for that is that we want them to be really pretty and we want them to be in a plate like this. And in case you peel the egg and it's not perfect like this, for example, then you can use it for egg salad. So I have, as you can see, I've already boiled the eggs, I peeled them, and what we do first is we cut them in half lengthwise. So you cut them in half like so. And I have space for 12. So I'm gonna cut up 6 eggs. Ones that are really nice so that they have a nice solid egg white to hold the filling in. Because what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take the boiled egg yolk and we're gonna pull that out. So, and that's gonna hold the filling that we're gonna make with the egg yolks. So I think we're good to go here. So now I'm gonna take a small bowl and I will empty the egg yolk from each one.
I can step in, Dennis, so now can
Please
I
go ahead.
continue while you're getting the egg yolks out?
Yep, thank you.
So we have it all nicely whipped and you can see that it's all blended together. So it's time to add the flour. So I have the flour pre-measured here and baking powder. And we want to stir the baking powder a little bit into the flour so we won't have, I know you can sift it together so you wouldn't have clumps of it in there, but this will do. And the next thing we need is lemon water. You take 1 cup of liquid, half a cup of lemon water. Let me get the measuring cup. And I squeeze water out of 1 lemon. And usually that's about 3 tablespoons or so. It depends if you like it really lemony or less lemony. So roughly 3 tablespoons. Pour it in a half a cup and then top it with water. So now we have half a cup of lemon water. And the next thing we will need is lemon zest. I already pre-grated it. I actually grated a lemon zest in there too, because the orange gives it a really nice color. So we can just put the zest directly in there.
So Milano, you did orange and lemon zest?
Yes, I did lemon and orange zest, correct. But if you don't have orange, it's fine. So I'm just gonna fold the zest in it like that. And now we're gonna mix the liquid and the dry. You always start with the flour and you do about 1/3. This is not an exact science.
Is it possible to use just regular all-purpose flour, or do you recommend using the Wonder?
This is a Czech recipe which uses polohruba mouka, which we don't have an access here to. So I make it with the Wondra flour. So
Okay.
I think maybe I'm not some things don't turn out. So I just work with what I know works. So let's do half of the lemon water. And you can see it looks a little bit like it curdled, but you don't have to worry about it. It's gonna all turn out fine at the end. We're gonna put the 2/3 of the flour. And this is the stage, if you did the egg whites, whipped the egg whites, where you would be folding the egg whites. And you don't really want to mix it. You kind of just want to fold it. As you can see with the spatula, like, I'm gonna pour it over and then go around and over. And we are gonna end up with the flour and go around and over, folding the flour in, because by the mixing, you whipped the air into the yolks and eggs and butter. So if you now vigorously mix the flour in, you would collapse all those nice air bubbles, which you want to have. So the Veronica, when you finish baking it, would be nice and springy and tender.
Is that why you separate the egg yolk from the egg white?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly, because the egg whites then would be nice and foamy. But this is the speedy version and it works too. It's a little less springy.
Okay.
Now we're gonna fill the form. And you wanna.
And if our bakers here don't have this form, just any loaf pan will work?
Any loaf pan will do.
Okay,
It's just not gonna look like Veronica,
right.
like Lemmy.
And
Yeah, it's just, the form is just the aesthetics.
absolutely. I'm gonna look on Amazon to see if they sell these
Yeah.
forms.
Yes, they
Get one in
Okay.
the Republic.
Nordic wear
Oh,
sells
no.
metal
Oh.
ones,
Okay.
and
I bet Williams Sonoma does too.
oh, they have everything.
Yes, they do.
And you want to make sure you have enough of the batter in the ears because it's the thinnest part of the lemmy. So it would burn if you did not have enough. And then you kind of separate, spread the dough or the batter all around. So you have a little more in the head and then the rest here. And we already have the oven going. It is at 350. So I'm gonna close it. And if you do have problem with the ears, sometimes they burn. You can take an alu foil and kind of cover the ear like that. It would help. We'll see about halfway through how are we looking. So now we're gonna put it in the oven.
Just the middle shelf?
Yeah,
in the oven?
just
Okay.
in the middle shelf, and it's nice at 350. I'm gonna turn the timer on for half an hour, and we're gonna check back with that in half an hour. So now we're gonna go and start on the mazanet, and this is where I wanted to show you where we're gonna go backwards. So we're gonna start with making the starter, or waking up the yeast. I have all the ingredients over here, and I'm gonna heat up the milk a little bit for 30 seconds, heating up the milk. And this is where we're gonna make our starter. So I'm gonna take some of the flour we pre-measured, put it in there.
It's like a science experiment. It's like a big beaker glass that you're using.
This is already pre-measured, the 2 teaspoons of dry yeast. We're gonna put that in there. We're gonna add some sugar. You can use all of it, but this works too. And now is the important part.
Okay, because I screwed this part up last night, so everyone pay attention. So how warm is the water?
It can be too hot, and it's like taking a hot shower. It wouldn't be too comfortable. So you don't want to put too hot over the yeast. So I take some of the milk and put it on the top of my hand like that, like when you're testing the baby bath water. And if it's comfortable, you don't even feel it, that's the right temperature. So now we're gonna pour about half of the milk in the jar, which we put the flour and the yeast and the sugar in, and we're gonna mix it up. And now I'm gonna show you the comparison. This is the starter, which I started 15 minutes ago, right, or 20 minutes ago, right before we started. And this is the one we mixed right now. So you can see that there are bubbles on the side and there's nothing in here yet.
Okay.
So
I was very low on my bubble count last night. And then Milena, you're just using all-purpose flour on this
Yes.
recipe. Okay.
yes,
We
this
have
is
the
just
Wondra. Okay.
flour. So
Okay,
I'm
all-purpose flour.
continue this machine. I'm gonna put it right here. And we're gonna put the flour in there. Pre-measured one.
So this is just the balance of the flour in the recipe. So I think
Yes.
you started with 1 cup of flour with the yeast
Yeah, you know,
mixture. So now we're doing 3.5
don't
cups.
have to necessarily totally measure it out, you know, but you want to have 4.5 total. And out of the 4.5, you take some for the starter. The same with the sugar. You have 1/2 cup of sugar, and you're gonna take some of that sugar for the starter.
Oh, not, okay, so not the 1/2 cup of sugar, just
No,
like
some
a
of the-
quarter
yeah,
cup
some of the
possibly? Okay,
and you put it in there. Then we have the salt. We'll put that in.
I love that both these recipes have lemon zest too.
You know, lemon is just makes you think of spring and, you know, freshness, and I love lemon. And again, I'm gonna use the same, you know, I did the zest for all of it. So again, it's the lemon and orange, but if you only have lemon or only have orange, it's fine. It's just gonna alter the taste a little bit. Then we're gonna add some vanilla. There you go. And we have the milk, which is nice and warm. We're gonna put that in there. We're gonna put the butter in
So
there.
Milena, how much milk did you just add? Because we had milk originally in the.
Yes, it was 1.25
Okay.
cup total.
Total,
And
okay.
out of the 1.25, I put some in the yeast starter, and the leftover is here. Whatever
Okay.
the recipe content is the total amount you're using.
Gotcha. And are you
So
now
I'm-
adding the yeast mixture? Okay.
Pardon me?
Oh,
Yeah,
go
this,
ahead, please.
yeah, this is the yeast mixture. The one I made half an hour ago.
Okay.
Here's the one I just mixed, but it's not ready because it doesn't have all the bubbles we want. You know, the bubbles show us that the yeast is nice and lively.
And can you leave that yeast mixture for too long? Like, it sounds like half an hour is a good time frame, but if you were to leave it an hour, is there any danger to that, or?
Yeah, you know, then would not be at its prime. I
Okay.
think it would still work, but it would not be at its prime.
Gotcha.
So I'm gonna now set it into the machine, and because I'm gonna be making noises, we're gonna go to Denisa, but I just have few more words. When you start mixing it in the beginning, it might look that it's way too dry. Just keep and do it on the very lowest setting. And keep it spinning. And once everything comes together, then maybe you can bring it up a notch or two. And it's gonna take probably 10 minutes to mix. So I will pass it off to Denisa and start mixing the dough.
Just real quick before we transition back to Denisa, there was a couple
Okay.
questions back on the Beranek. So
Go
if
for
one was making multiple Beraneks, do you have to wash the form in between?
I would just wipe it with a paper towel.
Okay, okay. And then
And
another,
you want the form to be cool before you pour the next one in there.
okay, gotcha. Any tips if one is using a metal pan versus this, look like you were using a ceramic type?
It's actually a clay.
Okay.
No, work the same way. Just make really good care of preparing the pan. You know, butter it really good. And when you put the flour in there, make sure that everything is covered, and that's gonna make it easy to come out.
Okay, and one of our guests suggested using Pam spray. Do you ever do that in lieu of the butter, or you're a traditionalist and like that?
Conservative traditionalist.
So we want the full fat of the Beranek. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Milena. Denisa, all right, let's get back to our eggs.
All right, so I emptied all of the egg whites. I took the egg yolks out. And what we want to do is to flavor the egg yolk and make it creamy, and then we can put it back in the egg yolk, in the egg whites. So here I have the egg yolks all mixed up, and I sort of crumbled it into small pieces. And then we're gonna season it. We can season it, what I've noticed, you can season it either with, of course, salt and pepper, and then add a little bit of mustard, some mayonnaise, and then the recipe, just to make it a little bit a little more zesty, you can add a little bit of either vinegar or pickle juice. So I'm gonna add a little bit of mustard, about a teaspoon. Then we're gonna add mayonnaise. We have about a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. Add that. And we're gonna put a little bit of salt. I would say pinch, and you can always add more, of course. And then pepper. I love pepper, so I like to do quite a bit of pepper in it. Then you mix it all up. So you have a nice creamy texture. I think I may add a little bit more mayonnaise. So this is the texture, sort of a thick paste.
Very nice.
And now you have two options. You can either spoon it inside those little holes that the egg yolks left available, or what you can do to make it a little more decorative, the presentation does make a difference. You can take a little filler, and you can decorate it like you would a cake. So I'm gonna try that. So you fill it up. You want to open it inside as deep as you can. Some people use glass. I'm gonna just fill it in. I'm gonna put as much in as I can so I don't have to reopen it. And then, as if you're decorating a cake, you just make nice little decorative swirls. So you just want to make sure that it's all coming through. And this is a little bit of a, be sure that the egg yolk is smooth and it doesn't leave any big chunks inside. Otherwise, you would not be able to squeeze it through that little filler. So can you see it okay? So I'm gonna try
Yes.
that. And you just fill up the hole.
It's a little tough, the white egg whites on a white plate, but I think we get the gist.
I think the yellow will make it stand
Yes.
out a little bit.
Absolutely.
Oops. Come out.
So Dennis, you said earlier, is this like a common appetizer that you recall growing up, or maybe that you and your family?
Actually, no, I have
or
not.
somewhere-
I have actually seen it first here in the United States, but I noticed that when you go to parties, that's one of the first items to go. It's so popular, and there
Yes.
needs to be enough.
And then any other modifications or enhancements that you make to your deviled eggs?
So you can spice it up. If somebody likes it spicy, I'm sure you can add a little bit of chili pepper, or you can add a little bit of, my husband loves sriracha sauce, so you can add that.
Oh, yes.
This one doesn't come out right. So I'll try to spoon it up. And usually you should have just about the right amount. There you go. Here's one without the decorative tip.
That might be the
There you
sample.
go. That's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And then to decorate it, if you are bringing it to a party, it really is nice to decorate that with a little bit of ground paprika, and that one could be spicy or not. Typically, probably not for general public. And you just put a little bit on top to make
Very
it look
I don't think I've seen this spoon tapping technique before. Very, very nice.
right.
I like it.
Well, what you don't want to do, you don't want to just sprinkle it all over. It would look a little messy. So you just want
Right.
to do a little bit.
So delicate.
And there is your appetizer, and you're going to be the favorite guest when you arrive to a party.
Absolutely.
So I would do that for the egg hard-boiled eggs. Now, if you have any more eggs left over, then what you could do is salad. And the salad, let me just clean up here a little bit. The salad, again, you've got your eggs, hard-boiled eggs, you've got mayonnaise. We can add a little bit of mustard again, and salt and pepper. And for the salad, you could also use a little bit of a crunchiness, and I would use green onions. So here I have.
Denise, so can I jump in?
Please do. This is a good time.
Thank you, perfect. So I wanted you to see, the dough all came together. It's nice and shiny. It does, it sticks a little bit, but not much. You can see on the side that it's pulling away from the side. So this is the last step we're gonna put in. I cut up some almonds, and instead of raisins, I like cranberries. And we're just gonna fold them in.
Milena, would you say that was about a half cup?
That was, it really depends. Like if it was up to my kids, we can attest to that. He wouldn't want any nuts or any raisins or nothing. I like
purist.
a lot of nuts and a lot of raisins. So it's very personal.
Sure.
So,
Is
but
there
between a third of a cup. If you put a full cup, that would be a lot. But again, it just depends if you like it.
Is there a traditional, like does the Mazanettes typically have raisins, and then you're modifying the recipe based on your family's taste? Okay.
Yes, we kind of like tart flavor.
Mhm.
So I put the cranberries in there.
Gotcha.
So here is the dough, and I'm gonna cover it up, and I'm gonna continue. And those who already baked with us before know my favorite cover is a shower cap.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. That is my favorite Milena tip.
And it saved the world one shower cap at the time.
Right.
And I already made the dough right here. So if you can.
Mhm.
So this is when it's nicely risen. So we're gonna take this one out, and I'm gonna show you how to shape it. So this is enough dough. You can either make one big mazanets, and you can see it's not sticking at all, and it's nice and soft. But when you leave it, it does not relax flat. It holds shape pretty much. So what you can do, you can either have one big one, but I'm gonna make two smaller ones because I'm gonna give them away.
Before you proceed, Milena, this is after the second rise.
Right. This is, you let it rise now in here.
Okay. For an hour?
For about an hour. Yeah.
Okay. And then, okay,
I will get to it, Nicole.
Thank you.
So the recipe says, you have two options right now. You can either, after the first rise, shape them, which would be what I'm doing now, or you can deflate them and put them overnight in your refrigerator. There is something what happens when you have the refrigeration lowers down the temperature, so the yeast works much slower, and it affects the flavor. I think it makes it more tender, but it's not necessary. It's still going to be delicious when you're done. But most of the time I let it. The same goes when I bake Vanochka. Vanochka is exactly the same recipe. I leave it in the fridge overnight. And okay, so let's go back to the shaping. So you kind of roll it. Just think of it like you want to, with this hand, like you want to pat somebody on the face. And you kind of tied it underneath, and this one and the left hand just helps it turn. So it goes under and forward, and under and forward, under and forward, until the top is nice and taut. Beautiful. And we're gonna let it sit on the baking sheet, and we're gonna do the same thing with the other one. You see that some of the craze, like if you put too much raisins or too much cranberries in there, they might, when you're tightening up, they might pop through the top. If that happens, you like, you know, there is one coming out here. If that happens, you want to take it out because they will burn and they will turn bitter. So we have nice 2 round bocháneks, the mazanets, right there. And I will show you, I had, again, just to see the difference. This is how they're gonna rise. They're gonna, I would say, you know, about double in size. So they started small like this. So we're gonna cover these. So when it comes, somebody asked about the spray, the pan spray. So I do use the pan spray to cover when I have like the vanučka or the mazanets to rise, because then the saran wrap does not stick to it. So I spray it on here and cover it up. So we're just gonna let it rise, not right now, because we have the beranek in the oven, so there is no room in the oven anyway. So we can go back to the Nisa. If anybody has any questions, you can ask now.
I don't see any questions in the chat.
Yes, I have, Milenko, I have questions. If
Go
you're
ahead.
using raisins, my grandma used to use raisins, which she soaked them in the milk. How many those raisins I can add? Or if I soak them in the vanilla and milk, how many raisins I can add that the dough stays together? Thank you so much.
As I said, you know, it's pretty much about your preference. If you like a lot, I would say, you know, between half, max 1 cup. And some people leave them sit in rum overnight, so they would plump up and bring another layer of flavor. So milk is one way to soak them up, and or the rum. And so I would say I would not go over 1 cup. I think, you know, what I have in is half a cup, and I think it's just about perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions from the group before we go back to Denisa?
All right, I was just gonna add that I usually like to soak the raisins in rum, and that's phenomenal. So I would recommend that. I wouldn't go with milk, but I think that when you have children, maybe. So here I started cutting up the eggs. Now the deviled eggs, we wanted it to be smooth and a little pasty. With egg salad, I typically like to see the eggs and make sure that there's a little bit of a taste, so you don't want to crumble it too much. The way I cut eggs, and everybody does it differently, but I have this little nice egg slicer, and I usually cut it lengthwise, and then I cut it again, and that gives you a nice chopped egg without it being too mushy. So here I have.
Thank you for that. It never occurred to me to flip the egg over and cut it again. That's brilliant. Okay.
Well, and it's, again, you don't want it, and depends, of course,
Sure.
to preference, but I don't like it too mushy. So here it is. And we got it all cut up. Now on the side here, I have cut up green onions. So I'm just gonna add that to the mix right here. And depending on the preference, I cut up 1.5 of the stalks. And here I'm gonna gently mix it together. The green with the egg makes it look really sort of pretty and spring-like. Then again, we will add mustard flavor. You can add this regular mustard, or you can also add powdered mustard. We add a little bit of salt, pinch of salt to taste. You can always add more depending on your preference. And then again, I love my pepper. We're gonna add enough pepper. And to hold it all together, we're gonna add mayonnaise. gonna start with just a little bit and we can always add more. And gently fold it. You don't want it to mush it all up. You want to taste the chopped egg. And I think we can add a little more mayonnaise. Finish that up. And then you can serve this on crackers for company as appetizer. You can also serve it as sandwich, my father-in-law's favorite. And you can serve it also as an open face sandwich, which is my favorite. And
Let me check. Dennis, so do you ever put some pickle juice in your egg salad?
No,
you
I
did in your
don't.
deviled- Okay,
the pickle juice was in the deviled eggs, and that's simply for a little more zest flavor or a little bit of vinegar, but for this I don't.
okay.
So here is our salad. And here is our deviled eggs.
Very nice, thank you.
Milena, can I go back to you?
Milena, go back to Vitek, our cameraman extraordinaire. All right.
What I just did, I moved the dough from the container into my rising container, because I'm gonna be using the starter, which I just made with you guys, a couple minutes ago for the third batch today.
Do
So
you always use a rising container?
no, normally I let it rise in the bowl, I mix it in. I'm using the rising container because I had several batches going,
Of course.
and I already have one bowl, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but we have, these are raising, we can check on the berane. So it has been in for 25 minutes. So we're gonna see how it's doing. Very gently lift the top. And so it is pretty much raw still in the middle. So we're gonna leave it in there. I'm not gonna put this back on. I'm just gonna let it bake without the top, but we're gonna be checking in on the ears. And so I thought, when we have a little bit of time, that maybe we can ask people who are watching if they have any favorite recipes they use for their Easter, or if they have the favorite mazanets, if they ever made mazanets or vanochka. So I thought that would be interesting to hear from our audience what their traditions are, and share it with us.
Absolutely. Yana, you want to unmute everyone? Or maybe just everyone take control if they'd like to comment on Milena's question and share with the group.
Hi, I forget what it's called, but I have a recipe that I found that was traditional, according to some website, using stinging nettle and egg. And I made sort of almost like a frittata out of it. I don't know what that's called, but it was really hard to find stinging nettle at a farmer's market, but then I got some soil from a neighbor and I have a ton of it this year. So when you cook it, it doesn't burn your mouth anymore.
Stinging nettle, yeah, that's a fantastic, actually, I'm not sure if it's a herb or just a flower, but it's great for your hair. You can make tea out of it for your hair. And you can use it in cooking like you would spinach or so. And I'm sure it would be fine here too, as long as you take the sting out of it. Yeah, great idea. Good tip. Thank you.
And what's funny is that in Europe, the stinging nettle is so easily to be found everywhere, especially in the spring. And it's, in the spring, it's not that stinging because everything is just soft and just getting out of the ground. And here it is a huge difficulty to find it at farmers market. That's kind of funny. And also what you just said, Michelle, reminds me, it's called velikonoční nádivka, which would be called Easter stuffing, which is sometimes used with ham, and it's like a savory bread pudding.
Oh, yeah.
And has steaming nettle in there, or spinach, or arugula, or any fresh herbs just start popping up in the spring. You would add to it, and it would be a main course during Easter time.
Yeah, it was delicious. Thanks. That's what it was called. Thank you.
What about from some of the rest of you? Would you please share with us maybe a favorite Easter tradition or a recipe that you like to make during this time of the year? One of the questions I see in the chat, what is pazitka? P-A-Z-I-T-K-A? Milena or Dennis? Pazitka, thank you. I didn't say it properly.
Pažitka is chives. It's also called schnitlik. Schnitlik, pažitka, chives, all the same thing. And you can sometimes use green onions if pažitka or chives are not available.
Yeah, pažitka is also great. Pažitka is great also just with tvaroh, but that's not as available here, and it's not as creamy and smooth. But that was probably one of my favorite cold dinner types at my grandmother's, and we would grow it in our backyard, one of the herbs, and it's fantastic. It's a little bit different, but I think it's in the onion family. But yeah, it would be perfect. I think for this it would be perfect too.
Yep. So I had a little trivia question. Does anyone know why mazanec is called mazanec?
That's a great question.
Because you put butter on it?
No.
Mazanec namažíš maslem.
I guess you could. Hold on.
That was my guess too.
It was traditionally, mazanec was baked on Bila Sobota or White Saturday, which is the Saturday before Easter Sunday. And there were no masses on Saturday, but people would bring the mazanec or the bread, the round sweet bread, to church to have it blessed. And in Czech, the blessing is called pomazání, svaté pomazání, which eventually turned the bread into mazanec because the priest is blessed. So it is technically called the blessed bread.
Blessed bread. It is blessed too. And then one of the questions, Milena, in the chat was, did people, like back in the day, did everyone have these lamb molds, or did they bake their Veronica in something else?
No, it's a lot. It's pretty traditional. Most of my friends have the mold at home. As I said, I got mine from my dad when I was 18, and usually they're passed down from or stay in family. So you cannot have a Veronica, you cannot have a lamb without the lamb mold. So it's the mold which makes Veronica out of the
Gotcha. So this mold's only broken out then once a year during Easter time?
Yep.
Or
Yep. It sits in the drawer for the rest of the year.
like so many of our small kitchen appliances.
Because my timer went on. Okay, it's still not ready, but you can see that the middle already filled up. So, and the ears are starting to brown. So where did I put them here? So I will show you what I meant when I was talking about the ears browning too fast. So you see it's
And then just to the group as a reminder, Milena, we seem to be having some technical issues. We will post this video as well to our YouTube page. So for those of you, just YouTube search Sokol SF, and you will see this recording along with our previous sessions as well.
I will send the link and the recipe and any comments which would be relevant in the chat. I'm sending it to all of you who participated, and you're gonna get an email. And it's also gonna be posted in our May newsletter. And I wanna take this opportunity to invite you. We have a hike. If you are nearby, if you're not too far away, we're hiking tomorrow the bottom of Mount Diablo foothills. And it's a beautiful area, and the flowers are going. We're getting kind of towards the end of the spring blooming, but if you are in the area and would like to stretch your legs tomorrow, we're starting at 11 at the end of White Cliff Way. And because we're starting at 11, you can bring your picnic lunch, and about halfway through the hike, we're gonna sit down and have lunch together before we finish it.
Very nice. Work off the calories of today's mazanets. Misha, I wanted to invite you. Would you share with the group the Kraslice event that you and I were messaging about? That last day is tomorrow.
Oh yeah, so some other members of Sokol that I met through the Czech and Slovaks group came to a pisanki making party a few weeks ago, or last month. And we exhibited them and we sold them. So the exhibit ends tomorrow. We raised $5,300 for Ukraine, Nova Ukraine. And we're taking them down. If any of you bid on them, we'll be distributing them on Monday. But tomorrow is your last chance to see it. It's at 2946 College near Ashby.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then Milano, there's an event in May. Do you want to touch on the symphony and some Dvořák?
Oh yeah, we have some culture coming in May. We have two big
Yes.
events in May. One is on May 7th. It's San Francisco Symphony, which plays Dvořák from the New World. So I think it would be really nice to get out. It's live, you know, to see people and be back at the concert hall. So that's on the 7th, and you can get the link for the tickets in our newsletter, or you can go to the sfsymphony.com and find it there. And we have a group sitting behind the orchestra. So we're actually going to be facing the conductor, which gives you a totally new view of the concert. I'm actually really looking forward to that. And then a week later, we're going to go, we're organizing a trip. There is a big Czech and Slovak and Moravian group in San Diego. And they have a big festival, folklore festival on Saturday, May 14th, and which we're going to attend. And then on Sunday, as a group, we're going to go to San Diego Balboa Park, where there is International Village, and there is a Czech and Slovak house there. So we're going to go visit that as well. And we're so looking forward to see other Czechs and Slovaks and see some dancing and some singing, which I'm really looking forward to it. And if you are a Sokol member and you sign up to come, there is some money in the budget. So some of your travel expenses will be reimbursed. It depends on how many people actually sign up. And the registration link is also in our newsletter.
Thank you. Thank you. And then I just wanted to, on a separate note, I think many of you are Milano was using Wondra. So this is what it looks like. I think it's in the flower aisle, right? Like, I think that's where I picked it up in the blue container. So this is what she used on the Veronica.
Yep. And I'm going to show you now how we're going to decorate the Veronica. So this is a Veronica I baked yesterday, because you don't want to put the powdered sugar on a Veronica while it's still warm, because it will all melt. So this is Veronica from yesterday. So I'm gonna set him on a pretty plate. And we're gonna use raisins for his eyes. We're gonna use a ribbon for the neck, and we're gonna use powdered sugar. some people use glaze or frosting. My family prefers just the powdered sugar. So we're just gonna put, we can tilt the lammy.
You can
Yeah.
also cover it in chocolate, Milena. That doesn't hurt either.
Oh,
Oh, like you drizzle chocolate on top?
No, you actually melt chocolate and then you glaze it all over, so it's all covered in chocolate. It's just, and then as you cut it, you have this nice little edge that's all chocolatey.
Oh, chocolate makes everything better.
I'm afraid so.
Absolutely.
okay. So now we have maybe a little bit more here. A bit more sugar. And we're gonna put the ribbon. I tied the ribbon on the side so it looks pretty and it's easier to put your fingers in there. So you tie a bow. Here we go.
And would this be served on Easter Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we can trim the ribbon.
So pretty.
Now we're gonna,
Are you taking orders?
Right. I'm using a skewer to poke like a hole where the eye is gonna be. There we go. Just, you kind of wanna make it even so is it a he or a she?
It's a she.
It's a she, Veronica, because she has a pink ribbon, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna put the raisin into the hole and voila.
Oh, beautiful. So I'd like to ask our cameraman, Vitek, can you even imagine an Easter without a Veronica?
Oh, it would be horrifying. We once had that fall off of it because it was the first time Mom let us tie the ribbon and we tried a little bit too tight.
Oh, and you decapitated your Veronica.
Surgery to make that Easter work.
Okay.
And I have some mint. You can use mint or parsley, and you can make a hole with the skewer. There we go.
But especially as a little kid, I couldn't imagine an Easter without a Veronica.
And there we
Oh,
Awesome.
Wow.
have the Veronica is all done. And
Beautiful.
this is the
Very cute. And then just out of curiosity, since this would be like dessert, right?
Yes,
What's the tradition? I'm sorry. What's a traditional Easter meal, Milena? What would you have on Easter Sunday?
what Mishka was talking about is the velikonoční nádivka, or some people do roast lamb, like the real lamb, and usually spinach would go with it and garlic. But we had the velikonoční nádivka, which was pretty traditional in our family.
Okay.
And I'm ready to show you. This is the mazanec I baked yesterday.
Oh, so good.
So that's how it's gonna turn out. And I wanna show you again, just the size comparison. So this is the size which will come out of the one size of the recipe. And this is gonna be the 2 if you do the half recipe. If you make two mazanets out of the batch. So this one's almost ready. I think, yeah, it's nice and springy. So we're gonna put egg wash on. So you're gonna break the egg and mix the egg with a fork, blend the egg yolk with the egg white. Make the almonds, because traditionally you should put some slivered almonds or sliced almonds on top. And the egg wash creates the glue. So you're gonna cover the whole
That's just-
mazanette.
Just one egg you have in the container? Just
Yeah,
beaten,
just one
okay.
egg. I have plenty leftovers. You can make scrambled eggs or add it to your scrambled eggs the following day, or yeah, one egg is plenty. So usually choose the smallest egg you have in your fridge.
Gotcha. And then I just want to comment on the Veronica, just to help enhance the presentation. One of our guests indicated that her mom tinted coconut green and spread it on a cake platter to look like grass. And then used, which is very
That is
creative. Yeah. And then use small green, blue, or black jelly beans for eyes. So you've got some options there. Raisins like Milena used, or jelly beans, which are always good too.
Okay, so I'm going to show you something. You can see here that the raisin is, or the cranberry is popping out. So I'm going to get it out because, there you go. Because it would burn as it's baking. So now I'm going to take a knife and cut across at the top.
And there's some symbolism with the cross, no? Like specifically with the mazanettes?
Yes, because you know, Velikonoce are the biggest Christian holiday celebrating Christ. So this kind of reminds us the cross, you know, the connection to the church. Or it is practical, has practical use as well, because when you cut it, then it will open up high and it will not crack on the side. It will just crack along those cuts you made with the knife. And then we're gonna put some of the almonds on top. And we're gonna go check on the beranek. And if the beranek is done, this mazanets or these two mazanets will go in. So let's go beranek.
Absolutely. And while you're doing that, I'm supposed to ask you about some Veronica and Showbox story.
Oh, that's the story of my girlfriend, which wanted to impress her mother-in-law for her very first Easter with the family. And a few more minutes. So I'm gonna finish my story. So
Still too moist, right?
Mother-in-law, so she baked beranek and they were going to their house. She had it beautifully sitting in a shoebox so it wouldn't topple over, it would stay gorgeous, and it was a gorgeous beranek. And they got there and they set it on the kitchen table as they were unloading the rest of their stuff. And their dog ran into the kitchen and bit the entire head.
Absolutely.
Ate it. So I always think of her, you know, and the beranek losing his head.
Absolutely. It seems to be a theme that Vitek can attest to. And then while I mentioned Vitek, I want you to know there's a couple of us who are eager to step in. Should you and Vashek not carry weight, like your mom in the kitchen and the food she prepares is second to none. So
we're
Misha and I are ready.
cranberry that falls off. It is it's a lucrative job.
And I have a trick sometimes when you're getting the beranek out of the form, the lammy, if the head should break, have a skewer and you can you would go from top to bottom. I'm not gonna do it because mine is perfect today.
Yours is perfect, yes.
Today. And then you would cover it with powdered sugar so nobody would see, nobody would know any better.
Oh, Mishka had a great recommendation using frosting for the surgery.
Frosting.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, for the surgery sounds great too.
absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Are we, I think
Oh,
we're,
Or actually tomorrow, you know, I don't know if how many of you is familiar with the Easter traditions in Czech. Some of them are very controversial because one of the traditions is that the boys are supposed to braid their pomláska. There is really no English word for that one, but it's this, it's about that long and it's braided out of willow branches. It's like a long stick which has nice colorful ribbons tied at the end. And in Czech, the main day is Easter Monday. I'm not really sure where that tradition comes from. I was trying to find it on the internet, and it's a national holiday, so Monday is off. People don't go to work on Monday. So I don't really know why it is Monday and not just Sunday, but on Monday, the boys go, it's similar to trick or treating here. They go from house to house and they say a little poem, hody hody do provody, dejte vejce malovaný, and they chase girls around with the stick, and they very lightly tap the girls on their hiney, and the girls rewards them with the colored eggs. And so we always did so many colored eggs with my mom. We did some which were very colorful, which we used dyes, or we did, my favorite ones were the ones which were colored in onion skins. So like a month before Easter, we would start collecting onion skins, and then you would go in the garden before Easter and you would collect pretty leaves and you would save all your stockings which would have holes in them, and you would wet the egg, put the leaf on top of the egg, cover it with the stocking and tie it at the end. And then when you did the hard boiling, you would boil them in the onion skin water. So they would get this beautiful brown reddish hue. And after they would cool down, you take off the stocking and the leaf, and there is the leaf imprint on the egg. And it's very pretty. And so those were my favorite eggs, or using, when you punch holes in the paper, we would save all the little circles. And then you would boil the whole egg, not covered with anything, in the onion skin water. And then after it cooled down, you would create patterns with the polka dots, which would be from the punch holes.
So we had a question, is it red onions or any onions?
No, just brown onions.
Brown onions.
Yeah, just regular brown onions. And it's natural. There is no chemical in it. And so it's good for you. So there is no more poison going on to your food. And they are beautiful.
Czechs on the forefront of, just organic. This is all very popular these days too, using natural coloring versus the artificial.
We didn't know how ahead of times we were.
Absolutely.
Onions work too.
I don't know what color would red onions do, but try it. I think it would be more brown maybe, or mix them. We always did the brown ones. Okay,
We did that at school.
let's do one more test. And I think it's gonna be ready. So coming out. Oh yeah, this is perfect. So it's coming out, and this is gonna go in.
Oh,
And we're gonna put the timer for 20 minutes, but it's gonna take probably like half an hour to 45. So now we wanted, actually look, because we took such a good care, you can see that there is a little separation between the edge of the lammy cake and the mold. So, and look, we saved the ears. And
How long would you wait before you take it out?
at least 10-15 minutes.
Until it's cool enough to handle?
Yeah. It's when it's warm, it's very fragile.
Mhm.
And also as it cools, it contracts and pulls from the sides even more.
And I have to say that I tried it last week when we saw you, and it was just so absolutely delicious. And it had the right balance between sweet and a little bit on the tart side from the lemons. And it was not dry at all. It was the moistest cake I've ever tasted. So I can guarantee this is just an absolutely wonderful recipe. So I'm gonna try it this week. Can't wait.
I am as well. And speaking of that, we'd love for if people are going to try these recipes, please take a picture and share those images to our, Mill and I, are we going to use the sokolsf@gmail.com email or is it?
Can we use the events? And,
Sokol-
because then I can take it from there and on the, on the reply to all the registrants.
Oh,
Or-
absolutely. Or you can post to our Facebook page. I don't know if other people can do that. So give it a shot. We'd love to see it. We'd like to be, active on social media. So is it sokolsfevents@gmail.com? Okay. So I'm typing that into the chat. Thank you.
Actually, it would be if our guests could post it in the chat. Where did they register from? Was it from the newsletter? Was it from?
Oh,
Was it from a friend who told them? I'm just curious, how does the word get out?
that's a great question. So please, we encourage all our attendees, use the chat feature and share with us how you found out about this event.
I just want to say hello and thank you. I made my beranek, and what I do, I don't know if you see.
Just put it back a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
I saw it
I
better
use
before.
that, that kind of plastic grass.
Yes.
Then I put it kind of around the beranek and then I put an X on it. And
That's
I just experimented because I was lazy to make the dough. If I can use this type.
Oh, Betty
That's what
Crocker.
I did today, but as you see, I lost the face. I have
I have to do a little plastic surgery.
yeah, I have to poke some toothpicks, but I am lucky because I have a baby lamb form. I have a daddy beran,
Wow.
and I have from my
A
grandma,
beran.
I have this one, just like a lady mama beranek. Yeah, then I'm lucky.
You have a whole Veronic family.
I have the family, yeah. But thank you. I'm from Manhattan Beach, and I don't know how I'm getting emails from your Sokol, San Francisco, even I am in LA area, but my daughter is gonna go to UC Davis, and I hope I will be much more up north, and I might join you maybe for a hike one day. Thank you.
We would love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Or tip, when you're using box cake, I've done that before too. When the liquid, which it calls from, I would use just the regular vanilla. But for the liquid, use the lemon water and put some lemon zest in it. And that will give it the homemade, flavor.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Are we, any last words of wisdom? I think we saw what Dennis had put together, right? So we saw our deviled eggs and our egg salad. Are we just waiting for I'm not sure, ladies, what we want to do next.
I think we're pretty much done.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
so we've got
you're just absolutely phenomenal in this baking. You are so good. And Nicole, thank you for helping us out and moderating. It was great to see you again.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. I wish I was closer to Milena's house because I would be on my way over for some muzzlenecks. I'd be pushing Vitek out of the way.
I'm gonna bring it to the hike tomorrow, so we're gonna have some muzzlenets at the hike.
And I'm bringing
Oh, yeah.
salad with me, so we can share it.
Oh yeah, I like that.
I have a comment on using box cake mix. I've done that too. I've used the white mix, but using whole eggs, and I put about a half a cup of flour in there, and it makes it more of a pound cake texture. It makes it a little bit heavier and not as tender, so it doesn't fall apart as easily.
Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you. Everybody learns something. Great idea.
Thanks so much, Melanie, again for for doing this. This is fantastic.
To you as well, Denisa. Thank you.
Everybody who came, and I hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully we will see you at our next adventure.
Yes, and happy Easter to everyone.